US-Iran peace talks begin, but major challenges remain. The start of direct talks between the United States and Iran in Switzerland marks an important diplomatic moment after weeks of conflict. While both sides have signed an initial agreement aimed at ending the war, the developments surrounding the negotiations suggest that peace remains fragile. 1. A positive step toward de-escalation. The most significant achievement so far is that Washington and Tehran are once again talking directly. Historically, communication between the two countries has been limited and often conducted through intermediaries. Direct negotiations increase the chances of resolving disputes and reducing misunderstandings. The agreement includes a commitment to negotiate a final peace deal within 60 days, a ceasefire across multiple fronts, the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, plans for sanctions relief and economic reconstruction. If implemented successfully, these measures could reduce tensions across the Middle East and stabilize global energy markets. 2. The Strait of Hormuz remains a critical issue. One of the biggest concerns is the Strait of Hormuz, through which roughly one-fifth of the world's oil and natural gas supplies pass. Although Iran announced it had closed the waterway, shipping data suggests vessels are still moving through the strait. This creates uncertainty about whether Tehran is using the threat as political leverage or whether it lacks the ability to fully enforce a closure. For global markets, the reopening of Hormuz is perhaps the most important element of the agreement. Any disruption could immediately increase fuel prices worldwide and affect economic growth. 3. Lebanon could become the biggest obstacle. Despite the ceasefire agreement, fighting between Israel and Hezbollah has continued. This is significant because Hezbollah is closely aligned with Iran. Israel insists its campaign against Hezbollah is separate from the US-Iran conflict. Iran argues that continued Israeli attacks violate the spirit of the peace agreement. As long as violence continues in Lebanon, trust between the negotiating parties will remain weak. Even if Washington and Tehran reach a broader agreement, regional allies and proxy groups could undermine it. 4. The nuclear question is still unresolved. Perhaps the most difficult issue has not yet been settled: Iran's nuclear program. The United States wants long-term guarantees that Iran will not develop nuclear weapons. Iran maintains that its nuclear activities are entirely peaceful. This dispute has been at the center of US-Iran tensions for decades. The success or failure of the talks will likely depend on whether negotiators can find a compromise that satisfies both sides without appearing politically weak at home. 5. Political risks for Trump and Iranian leaders. President Donald Trump is presenting the agreement as a diplomatic success after military confrontation. However, he has also warned that the US could strike Iran again if Tehran-backed groups continue attacks. Meanwhile, Iranian leaders must convince their domestic audience that they have not surrendered to American pressure. They are portraying the agreement as a victory that secured sanctions relief and economic benefits. Both governments therefore face the challenge of balancing diplomacy with domestic political expectations. Conclusion: the Switzerland talks represent the most promising opening for peace since the conflict began. However, several factors threaten the process: ongoing fighting between Israel and Hezbollah, disputes over the Strait of Hormuz, deep disagreements regarding Iran's nuclear program, political pressure on leaders in both countries. The next 60 days will likely determine whether this initial agreement becomes a historic peace settlement or simply a temporary pause in a wider regional conflict.